Good evening, Sethikus. I want to welcome you to my show, and apparently we have in a show today that we're both just collaborating on. So we're gonna have an interview together where we're gonna interview each other. So I'm Kolosova, and today what I wanted to discuss with you is what I call lifeblood. And that's the topic of my show today and my interview with you. I do have a few questions for you. I appreciate you time here with me because last week I was on another show, Beyond the Veil, and I said we're going to take it to a next level next week with you. And here we are. So this next level for me that I want to take it up a notch with you tonight, Sethikus, is this lifeblood. Or we're gonna get into a little bit more details about where humanity is at this point of our consciousness evolution. So I am so happy to have you, Sethikus. So thank you for being here.
Quite the honor to be speaking with you.
Yeah, this talk has been long overdue. We've been planning this for a long time, right?
So yeah, the lifeblood topic that you are presenting for the dissertation of this conversation is everything that's actually happening right now. It's, as I've mentioned on Black Earth Productions, that the blood codes are activating in every race and culture on the planet. And the goal, as far as I'm concerned, that the higher force has revealed to me, is that we must all get back to our roots. People in the Western culture, people all across the world, we have lost our roots. We don't even know who we are. And so I feel that this is going to be a good place to start, getting into things. So
a couple of videos back on my channel, on my YouTube channel, I've made a little short videos just going directly into deception and decoding it. And so once I did that, every video after that has been focused for me on this human consciousness evolution progression. Because for those of you guys that don't know about much about my work, what I'm talking about is the correction timeline, or the implementation or self-initiation into the occult and into the secret knowledge, and gaining the gnosis and becoming who we are, and not becoming but reclaiming our status here as a human beings. We are the creator beings in this reality. And so all of my focus with what I do with my spiritual work has been focused on this self-transformation path, or the self-initiation into this. So today I wanted to hear from you, Sethikus, as well, is what is this path for you, how it looks like, and what it is that you doing, and how you feeling this period that we enter into. There's many different words to describe what we are experiencing right now, or what we're going through. Many people will talk of this as a revelations period. We call it unraveling and all of that stuff. So
sure,
let's get onto it, and let's see what it is that we actually are experiencing right now.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying before we started the segment, that people still do not know the occult. It's not enough to know thy enemy. It's not enough to know what and see, I'll say, what's happening around us. Even getting into a lot of the dark material out there, talking about the AI, talking about all the different factions, the aliens and the fucking angels and the ascended masters and the military, the governments, the banks. Just all the different layers, all the different levels of the veils that have set themselves in trajectory over the consciousness of mankind The way that it works, though, and this is something that people need to understand, understand and overstand, is that all is within. Everything that I do, I take it back to the first cosmic law. It is all about your state of mind. And this is why the dark ones do MK Ultra. This is why they do mind control. This is why they fuck, shit up in the education system, media, everything to get the radar, I'll say, which is thought and emotion, in alignment with certain frequencies, symbol codes. I could really elaborate on that, but just to make it simple, to get the focus of the individual on things that are completely irrelevant to the evolution that we are actually here to unfold. This is why we incarnated. We did not incarnate to be slaves. We did not come here to be, subject to everything that's going on. So I think the last, 17 years since the year 2000, when the stellar activation cycle started, okay, getting into my bloodlines, getting into everything going on with myself. I come from a direct shamanic bloodline. And when my codes started to be activated in the year 2000, I literally went mentally insane. It wasn't like I got on and I read about a few things and, oh, now I know something. This was a very hardcore initiation into everything. And then, of course, due to programming, I got involved with Christendom. But my whole life, ever since I was a kid, it never, it never resonated with me. Why is that, though? We come in with a certain knowing, especially our generation, I'll say, had that upon coming in. And it was a risk coming here because there was no guarantee that we would get to where things are now. But we've been catching it, had things stripped. We've gone through all this crazy stuff. You hear about individuals out there that are the Montauk, the different, projects that are going on, secret space program. All of that stuff is designed to keep us from remembering who we are. And so there's a lot of programming, I'll say, going on with specific individuals because of what you actually came in with to unfold. As far as I'm concerned, what outcome unfolds is going to greatly be determined upon the choices we actually make. And it's whether or not they're in alignment with, I should say, the ultimate good, or in trajectory with the ultimate evil and the labyrinth and all the crazy stuff that's going on, because it's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. Okay, where is the next phase? Where do we take this now? And I feel that with everything that you have been talking about specifically lately, also things that I've mentioned, other people as well, this is where it's going, because we have to remember, and I've often said it, that the real book of life that they don't want us to remember is the book of life that is you. So everything that I do, everything that I focus on is the path to selfhood, is the path to self-mastery, is the occult, getting into high magic. Also know thy enemy, but even more know thyself. And one of the greatest war generals of all time was Sun Tzu. And what did he say? If you know thy enemy and know thyself, you need not fear any battle. And it's not enough to know about what's going on, what the dark factions, what the AI, all the stuff that a lot of people talk about. We must remember who we are, and remember that we are warriors, and remember this is why we incarnated, to go through all these trials and initiations. It's not for no reason. It's not for nothing. It's not in vain. And a lot of people, you're getting hammered, you're getting, hit with all this stuff, and you feel like you're going down. You know what I'm saying? But now with the networks expanding, we have the opportunity now to really, come into a place of, expanding what I feel is unfolding as well as yourself. So.
Yeah, I think this energy of the warrior stand is expanding so greatly right now. Even when we started talking about it a little ways back, it was still not as clear. But today, I think we're standing in that, and the importance of the return to that stand is what you just said.
Right.
The importance of being fearless of any battle And I think that for those of us that go through this process, and it is real for us, for people like us, and what we're doing here with the shows that we're recording these conversations and sharing with people that are going through this process, through this self-transformation process, and that are self-initiating themselves into this process. This is really, if you think it is a mission of your incarnation to do what you're doing right now, it definitely feels like it right now, right? Your life has been stripped.
Yes.
I know that's how it's been with me. And I'm standing fearless in who I am, and I am who I am, and there is nothing that can take me off my spirit intent or the pure magic, that I've talked a little bit about, that initiation of pure magic, and just talk about that from a perspective of someone who is going through it. And this is what I think this conversations recorded and made public out there do the best, is help people to recognize this warrior stand. Or as I'm saying right now, I feel like every one of us have to find that hero within right now.
Right.
Know the self, find that hero within right now, recognize that you are a spiritual warrior. We are at war. We know who the enemy is. There is no doubt within us. Once you know the self, you know who the enemy is, and you have no doubt who the enemy is. So when the spiritual intent then created, it acts though as a strike against enemy, right? And so this is the pure magic, and those that self-initiate into a cult.
Okay, so yeah, being initiated into the occult, right? And that's the thing. People need to be initiated. You're not going to get this online.
No.
You're not going to get it necessarily in a book. You're not, you might be inspired and empowered and encouraged by hearing this, you know what I'm saying? But the real occult secrets are hidden within us. Okay? This is what people need to come to understand, is that all is within. Like I was saying about the first cosmic law, everything in the universe is a mental projection. So people get into concepts like the law of attraction and all that, watered down new age, fucking bullshit. But they don't realize that it all comes back to their state of mind. Okay? And if your state of mind is not in alignment and not pure, and an intention and motive, and you try to go and start wielding the energy force and doing magic and working with sigils or invoking spirits or entities or fucking aliens or angels or whatever, you're gonna get raked out because you don't understand protocol. People, and this is something I'm really hammering right now in 2017, is that we must come back to the protocol that was there among the ancient wisdom councils.
Yes.
Because everything that's unfolding right now, as far as I'm concerned, is those wisdom councils coming together once again. Because we are the accumulation of our ancestors.
Yes.
If people do not know who their ancestors are, and they don't get into ancestors, and you don't get into the blood codes, like you were talking about in the very beginning, that you're not going to even be able to get to the level of soul code integration. Because everything in alchemy, you start with the prima materia. You start with the physical. But see, everyone in the New Age community, it's like they want to dismiss the physical, and it's like, oh, we're in a prison. It's not a fucking prison. It's your vehicle to be able to navigate through all the stuff that's going on. And so, if your mind and intention are not in alignment, and you're not taking care of yourself, and you're in fear of all the stuff that's going on, someone say someone that doesn't know what's going on, they come in here you know, some of the conversations, they, you know, it's, yeah, they're gonna think we're crazy, but it's all about, you know, pulling back, you know, recalibrating and going, okay, what is the next phase of this? And that is to know thyself. That's getting into the arts of gnosis. That's getting into the real biospiritual regenesis, and also how to navigate the astral grid works. And trust me, there are grid works of consciousness that are beyond all of this, just waiting to pour themselves as within as without, you know, with the individual. But then you got people that want to pass the buck off or point the fucking finger, and everybody else is beneath me. No, everybody is on their own journey and remembering, and we need to respect that. This is about the return of the warrior, right? Who is Thor? Thor is the protector of mankind. He protects mankind from the serpent, from devouring, so that people have the room and the opportunity to be able to evolve, to be able to catch it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the warriors that are out there in contexts like I'm talking about, we're getting hit with all sorts of stuff. But you got to remember that, you know, it's not necessarily about us. We are here, you know, to be the cause point, you know, for the evolution. You know, just having this conversation and presenting it to other people, it's gonna encourage and inspire many more people to come. You know what I'm saying? And that's the attitude that I feel people need to have. One of my mentors back in the day, he said to me, your attitude determines your altitude. Getting into the tarot now, you take from the Fool card all the way up into the Hermit. The Hermit is the master. He is the master magician. He is the master of himself. That is the path of initiation, 0 through 9. I talk about the 9. I talk about the energy force. I talk about the spindle. I talk about the triangulation that's going on with these astral grid works and AI and, you know, holographic inserts and implants. It's just all the fucking crazy stuff that people talk about. You know what I'm saying? That is very, very real. But that is not everything that is going on. And we need to start, you know, reading between the lines with that and getting on to trajectory with the original timeline that we are all meant to be on as humanity. Getting back to the original, that spiral is getting tighter and tighter, and if you're on it, you're gonna be burning and blazing and going through the alchemical process for real. It's not just an idea in your mind or something that you talk about. You're actually experiencing it, and now it's the opportunity for people to come and learn about what they don't know is going on with themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, back in the year 2000, I went through that shamanic initiation, which was enacted by the higher force itself because of my blood codes and who I am, my ancestors, and everything that's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what other people are experiencing out there, but dark night of the soul is very, very real. But that's just, you know, the blackening. That's the first phase that you got to go into, and you have to be willing to go into that. Otherwise, you're going to get raked through the coals when the process, you know, takes you. Otherwise, you can make the choice to make a ritual out of it, and then that's when it becomes a sacred thing. When you create a safe place for individuals to actually experience their pain without feeling that guilt or shame that a lot of people do, and then they reject the process, and then they go back into old patterns and, you know, false belief systems that are all designed to keep us locked down and enslaved. So
yeah, and I've seen this patterns, you know, that keep re-emerging over and over and over again, these patterns, and I've talked to them. They're the victim perpetrator patterns of control that's been sort of at the foundation of this control system, and that's how the imposter God could control humanity, is through that victimizer field of existence, and those people
right.
that are anchored in it. And that's been, you know, last 2 years, it's been my focus, is to help people and myself to heal as much and drop all of the nonsense. Because like you said, just now. This self-initiation, you can make it into ritual, and it is a sacred, because it's sacred. It's the most sacred and probably the most important and the most hardest thing, or maybe change that you're gonna make in your spiritual path, is taking this sacred path of know the self. Because everything what you are and you are not, you will face. And you will face your darkest fear yourself. Nobody can face it for you. And that's one of the things, once you do it yourself, you know it, and you know it like nobody else, and you know why it's sacred, because it is authentic to you. And so that's why between you and me, we can talk and share about our perspectives and our path of this with others. But then what I always say is, it is your path, you own it, you create it, and you are the one who is growing through it. And it is nobody else's opinion or judgment of your path can indicate or tell you that you're either on awakening path or not. When you're on it, right, you know you're on it, and you know what you need to do. And when there's things that you know and you do know them, then you share those with humanity, because our mission here, all of us, if we are to mature ourselves spiritually, then everything we do here on individual level has effect on the collective level. And this is why we're here today, right now, going through this process.
Right. And that's the thing. Everybody is where they are.
Exactly.
You are where you are. I am where I am. Other people are where they are. Here's another major occult secret. There is no arrival points, because we are in the process of eternal evolution. Here in this reality field, as far as I'm concerned, is both the lowest and the highest realm, because of what we're actually able to access, while at the same time dealing with all of the shit that we do. This is one of the most brutal places to incarnate in the universe, because of all the wars and proxy wars that are going on, not just on a third dimensional level, but especially on an astral level, because that's where the real war is going on. You were talking about the war. I've definitely been a part of I'll say, missions. I'm a part of councils on these, other realms within the multidimensional paradox, as I put it. But in truth, there's no separation of any of it. It's only the illusion that we've been separated. And then, of course, given, these false belief systems, especially the false belief systems that we have about ourselves. And it's happening right now, right this moment. Okay? That's a major issue, because that belief system that was given to you by somebody else, it did not come from within. Okay, what is that truly is authentic? What is that is truly coming from within? Is it alignment? Is there confirmation? Have you looked into, different people's works and seen reflections of what you know within yourself? That is how it works. You don't just go and like grab onto something and say, oh, now I have the truth. Because the minute something else, comes to, maybe challenge that perception, oh my God, the cognitive dissonance, Lily, is still unrelenting. And then you, of course, pose the question: do these people really want the truth or not? Or do they just want a pseudo version that makes them feel comfortable where they are, so they don't have to fucking grow up and evolve and go to the next level? Because that's what's happening right now. And there are those of us that I feel are going to be at the forefront, sounding the war horns for this, so to speak. Taking it back to the ancestors, you know, taking it back to your ancestors as well, you know, who settled in the Caucasus Mountains in Russia. That is where the ancient wisdom councils went. All races and cultures during the Ice Age. Okay? After the cataclysm of Pangaea and everything I talk about in the Jedi codes in the Narmangu. Okay. And I spent years digging, you guys. I spent years really doing a lot of research, you know, to put everything together. Everything can be verified, you know.
Because this is the thing for me, and you talked a little bit about, and you mentioned that, you know, my background and my genetic line is coming from a deep Russia. You know, the thing is, it's been like this for me. Those are native Russians, so I'm very in tune with the native teaching. So when I got to America, I was all about learning the wisdom of natives. And as of today, I even, you know, I spoke against all the mockery that was happening during Standing Rock protests, because there was a mockery that was going on the wisdom of natives. So I'm standing here and saying, you know, I can call out a mockery of wisdom, and because we, as you know, because I hold all native teachings in high regard with a lot of respect. And so I am like a lioness when it comes to native teachings and native wisdom, because I myself, I grew up in a family where a lot of that wisdom has been passed on from generation to generation through speaking only. There is no records of a lot of wisdom.
It was an oral tradition.
Yes, the oral tradition of the family history and everything is because of the system that land was under oppression. And so because of that, there's very little written history, but there is.
But here's the secret. Here's the secret with that. It's written within our codes. It's in the blood. It's in the blood codes. It's in the soul codes. It's in the melatonin. It's in the melanin. It's literally all within, right? It's just a matter of knowing how to access that. And if people don't know the occult, they're going to be strung along into all this other bullshit. Even if they do present something as powerful as Keylontics was and still is, because for me, getting into it and reading the secrets of Amente confirmed unbelievable amounts of inner knowing within me. And I'm specifically talking about parts of the history, also understanding that it is distorted and that there's still missing, you know, pieces, you know, to it, specifically getting into a perspective from a specific genetic disposition, which is Syrian, right? But that's not everything that's going on. The dark ones stole everything. They are not creators. They don't have the capacity to create anything. That's why they write it on genetics. That's why I feel what happened to Ashiana Dean happened, even if her intention was good, you know, from the beginning. Because that's the thing. People always start out with a good intention, but then you get out there and you start, you know, really doing stuff, and you're not held accountable, and you're just thinking you can do whatever you want. Chances are you're going to get raked out. They tried to rake me out, you know, in 2011.
Yeah, that's neglect. I think it's just you know, when you have, even if you have that in your genetic code, okay, we're going to talk about this. And again, I used to, you know, call out people's names and everything. And
no, actually, I just want to make real.
I was talking about holographic kinetics. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this situation. Even if it is in your genetic code, the key here is who owns those codes and what do you, as a responsible owner of that genetic codes. Okay, so this is where the manipulation happens. This is what you're talking about, that they have to come in and manipulate you and you have to agree to sell your own inner knowing for whatever money or whatever. Usually it's the money that talks, you know, or whatever it is that people sell out for. But what happens is, even if this is in your genetic code, the key thing, I think, that what this dark ones, and of course they did this with intent, they didn't tell these people that, you know what, you are responsible for the outcome of this. And this is something that they didn't think of. And in 2014, I said, these people that do this right now, they sell out their own self to be parroted by this system, manipulated, and then presented to humanity as manipulated projection. And they're aware that it is information that is manipulated. There is a lot of information like that that is floating around still in alternative communities. You know it, I know it, and many of our listeners.
Yeah, a lot of them are working for these specific agendas.
The darkest of the darkest is the most awful thing that these people do, is they are not taking responsibility for their manipulated shit that is still floating out there.
Right. Well, they're about to, because everything that's unfolding, right? Everything that's unfolding right now, people are going to be left with what they create. And so whether if their intention was not in alignment, was not pure, if their thought and emotion was not, you know, say in alignment with the true core essence of truth itself, which is the master. There is no man or woman that's the master over truth. Are you kidding me? I don't have the all truth. We don't have the all truth. Truth is here now, present with us, revealing even more, confirming certain things. You know what I'm saying? There is no arrival points. But with all of the I'll say the false light dictatorships, that is the biggest, one of the biggest issues right now in the spiritual communities all across the world.
Yes.
Because of the fact that people still do not know the occult, dove into the true esoteric proper knowledge that has been kept from them, that the dark ones are still using with these light factions. They're right there, COINTELPRO, man, boom, infiltration and subversion every fucking time.
I know, not a minute later.
Right?
Not a minute later, there is something, and I've talked about this, that how this thing, or what we talk about, some people see this as a big octopus, as some people call it AI.
Yeah, that was really interesting what you were mentioning.
That light, inorganic consciousness.
Yeah. It's like fucking Cthulhu, man. H.P. Lovecraft. And I've seen the crystalline realms. They're fucking amazing, Lily. Like, I remember I was blissed out and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But then when quarantine was lifted in 2012, that's when they came in. And the 2012 was the worst year of my life. Worst year of my life, next to the year 2000. Okay? That whole year, and that's the thing. I've never fully disclosed anything that I've been through, anything that I've seen, anything that I fully have experienced, because a lot of it isn't necessary. I could go on and on and on and on and on about the dark shit until we all, like, you know, wither away.
Yeah. You
know, and this is the bullshit thing that happens also in network. We get into competition about our stories. We try, you know, it's like, oh, you've been through this. Well, this is what I've been through. And this is, you know, and you can see that self-righteousness. It's like, you know, and it's like the glorification of this shit that is actually a part of perpetuating it, you know, blinding us from what's actually, you know, meant to take place. And that's the evolution beyond all this, because a lot of the grid works of consciousness that this is keyed into, this crystalline shit, it's lower astral, not even the upper astral, because there are two distinct you know, variations, and there are places within the astral that are sound, okay, but it's all about knowing how to navigate through. And unless you have the map, unless you've accessed the map within yourself, you're not going to know how to navigate. You're not going to know what's going on when you know you have interface with something, or you're talking to somebody, you know, the next thing you know, boom, honeypot trap, there it is. And there comes the jaws. And these are the things that people need to be aware of. They need to be aware of the snares and traps, especially with the false light dictatorships, this false angelic hierarchy bullshit that do not acknowledge creator source.
I've said it not too long ago. This path is real, people. If you're still faking it, you didn't make it. Right. You gotta return, and you gotta do it yourself. There is nobody who's gonna get you to the point of being self-aware. It's like I've said in previous couple of conversations, and I've talked about, you know, we as a living beings have to self-initiate ourselves and go through this shit. And then once you go through it, you'll have respect for this path. And what I see still, and what I think is what I'm feeling, you and I share your feeling of anger, of how many still in alternative community having the ability to reach people, to help people to stand up in their power, are still choosing today, as shameful as it is. A lot of human beings are still out there programmed to mock human essence, to mock how humanity has the natural intelligence given to us by universe, how we are what we've been waiting for. To this day, after so much, we people like you and me been sharing and sharing in this community, that the value of knowing occult, the value of going within, the value of investigating consciousness, the value of being involved in evolution of human consciousness.
Right. And that's the thing I really see taking off now, is that individuals are beginning to really see the value that is there, because everything is going to reach a ceiling with all the bullshit that people are talking about with the AI. Their AI technology is going to reach a ceiling, and when it does, that's when they're going to start pumping it out. And there are certain individuals that are in alignment with that, and so it's a question of whether or not people are going to wake the fuck up and realize what is really going on, okay, and become that warrior, you know, taking things back to the tribe. I have very, very strong tribal codes, getting into a more advanced system of gnosis that I promote and that I also teach to my students. I have very, very strong tribal codes, and this all goes back to what is happening right now in 2017 going into 2025. The ancient tribal codes are going to activate in all of us, and that's why all of this crap coming up has to come to the surface again. And when it does, we catch it. It's going to continue. All the stuff that's going on with the weather right now, that is the earth going through the alchemical process that we are all feeling. And you can either turn a blind, and you can
big time,
right, and people can either turn a blind eye to what is actually really going on, or they can go within and say, okay, how am I going to put myself into alignment with this? And it does come back to sacred teaching. It does come back to being held accountable. It does come back to the wisdom councils manifesting again, which I know that I am a part of. I feel that you are a part of, and other people as well that are on the forefront doing this sort of thing. If it reaches one person, and then you know, maybe they come and then, you know, present some things that, you know, can connect the dots, and then we evolve even more. Do you know what's really interesting, Lily? Certain factions and spirits, I'll say, that I have had interface with, have told me straight up that they are ready to evolve. Now, there's others out there that are all about the domination and control systems that have been set in place. The way that it works, though, is through genetics and consciousness with humans on the planet. What did Carl Jung say? Carl Jung said that man himself is the origin of all coming evil. So it's not enough to sit here and scapegoat the Illuminati or the archons or the demons or anything like that, because whatever face you shine into the unconscious is going to reflect back. If you shine a face of fear into that place, you are going to be met with all of the evil that is present. And so it's to say the demons and everything that people are experiencing are a reflection of themselves, all the things that they hate about themselves, all the things that they can't stand, that they're afraid of, the repressed, suppressed, unconscious shadow that's hijacked the ego, which is the will, which is the dragon in alchemy, like I'll talk about. So it's a question of whether or not, you know, your will, your action in this reality field is being directed by the true core essence of who you are, or if it's being directed by the shadow. And those of us that know the difference, have been through the initiations and the trials and the tribulations and the crazy fucking warfare, you know, bringing you to the brink of insanity. Some people have, you know, but I made that connection to that core essence, and it's been, you know, essentially guiding me through this crazy journey that I've been on, leading up to the present moment. Now, have I arrived? No, nobody's arrived, not by any means, because this is going to continue. But even the gods and goddesses that I have had interface with have told me that they are ready, that it's all bullshit. And they want humanity to know that too. Stop believing the lies that you need to give them your energy. You know, taking it back to the archetypes of my ancestors. They didn't seek any of that. They wanted us to achieve the same thing, you know. But again, getting into symbolism, getting into the occult, everything there in symbolism was there originally for study and meditation, for you to integrate this sort of way of being, right? Thor is very real for me. I'll say Tyr and Odin, because I do the ritual within. And that's the difference between a ceremonial magician and one who actually practices the higher occult sciences. And this is where everything is going, as far as I'm concerned, is coming back to the original intention that was there with the Wisdom Council, so that we can remember what's really going on. Remember what's within us, remember who we really are, okay? And then get on trajectory so that humanity, along with the rest of the universe, can evolve to the next level, because the Earth, our reality field, is a linchpin for the rest of the universe. There are very, 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 very few seed planets in the universe, and that's why everything is going down here. You know what I'm saying? You know, all the you know, interdimensional factions, their eye is on the planet. Why is that? Because it's a linchpin. You know, it's like a grenade. If you pull that pin, the whole thing's going to go. So
exactly, it is a big deal what's happening here.
So we are working to prevent the wars that have been taking place in the fourth dimension from manifesting here, so that humanity has the opportunity to catch it. And they were getting ready, man. They were getting, you know, ready to, you know, come down on everything with the last solar eclipse. But nature herself is answering. It's not HARP, it's nature going, wake up, or I'm going to shake you the fuck off my back. You know, and I've had visions and dreams of these things, you know, taking place. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what nature herself is going to decide to do. But this all goes back to the tradition of our ancestors being connected, you know, to Gaia, to Mother Earth herself, and also the power of the divine feminine. And that's another issue, Lily. There's not enough men that are on the forefront that know the difference, to protect that so that it can flourish and be honored in the way that it was. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing that needs to happen too. Men need to wake the fuck up. A lot of women are, out there are spiritual, right? But we're the men. I'd say that I'm one of them. There are others, but it's like, okay, how do we pull this together? How do we come together in a way where things can manifest from the inner knowing that we have within us in a way that has never been done before? I don't have all the answers. What do you think?
If there was any time for us to come together, it is the time right now. And I think this is what we're doing, trying to have these conversations, is we have to bring this forth. Because like you said, there is just not enough of this material. And what you brought up earlier is the tribal codes, okay? Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, the basic or the foundation where we can meet, everybody can meet at the point of respect once we do activate those tribal codes. Because really at the foundation of each tribe, there is pure intent. Mm. Right? There is that pure intent, or as you talk about that original timeline, or aligning ourselves to original timeline. A couple of years ago, I talked a lot about that original timeline and aligning and anchoring yourself into that timeline, because that's the correction timeline. That's the way it floats right now. And so this is why, and like you said, I am like you. I don't know either what we're going to create next, but I do know that this creation does depend on humanity. Will the humanity stand up as humanity, or will we just crumble underneath all these separations that's been used against us?
Right.
Even, and you say in here, we can come from a different perspective and different spiritual teachings, but each and every one of those teachings have some truth to it.
Right.
Just you can go through that, and like I even talk about Keylontic teachings, there was truth in there. The fact that it was used against humanity to harvest, take every teaching out there, it's been manipulated and used to harvest our energy. I don't think there's anything out there that is still in its pure intent. Even the Gnostic materials has been really greatly manipulated. So what we have is we have our original living DNA, and that we do have as human beings, and who we are at that level. I say once we go through this shit and you go through this transformation and you get to know, and you can be in both realities at the same time and know what's happening there, what's happening here, and how that affects this and how this affects that, and all of that stuff. When you know that, and then you know the ability and capability of who we are as a human being standing in expressing free will, who we are is incredibly amazing. Mm-hmm. Once we are standing in the true self. Right. And once you experience yourself as that, then this is what gives, I think I'm going to speak for myself, but I'm sure that I'm speaking for you as well. This is what gives us the courage, the energy to come here, even after a long day of work, like for you today, have this conversation and dig deep into what it is that is human potential for consciousness growth. Right. Today, if we, all the masters of whoever teaching we might followed in the past or whatever we study, it doesn't matter which way we got there, but as long as we get to our true self, aligned with the original pure intent, how we got there, it really doesn't matter. Was it really bumpy? It was quite bumpy for me. But here I am right? We're talking about principles of creation here. And then from this point on this foundation, we can then go to that level and start talking about human consciousness potential, because our potential is unlimited.
Right. The thing with
And
it, though,
that's what imposter God doesn't want us to talk about.
right.
That's what none of those people that are running programs through all kinds of channels, just spitting out whatever, none of them wants to hear about that.
Right.
But here we are, and this is moving forward in a, like I said, there is no stopping of this evolution. It is happening because there is way too much that depends on humanity. And so we have to know what our potential is so we can implement that correction. So this is why we're here. This is why I'm here talking about this, what I can talk with, taking it to as many next levels we can, for as long as we bring this into focus for human beings. We have to focus on the potential for the evolution of human consciousness.
Right. And essentially, it's going to put us in the position to create the new mythos.